to ask other people to join. And for those who are welcoming or joining us online, we want to welcome you as well. Thank you for joining us online. We are fully aware that you're watching and that you're with us, and we're going to make sure that you are a part of everything that we're doing here. Just as we're interacting with those live here in the room, we will also come to you and take your feedback in the course of the event. So the housekeeping rule, number one, we want to crave your indulgence to put your phones on silence. If it's okay to switch it off, I'll appreciate that. But if you can't, please do confirm that your phone is now on silent mode or vibration. That would be very, very helpful, especially with the streaming and the microphone or the sounds that we're using. Then the second thing is, if you need to use the bathroom, or I'm more comfortable calling it the restroom, because if you have been in traffic and you are the one driving and you need to do the major, then you will understand why it is called the restroom. Because you can't abandon your car and get out of the car and, do whatever business you need to do. So the restroom is to the right on your way out. It's where you have, I like the way those guys have nicely designed and made it look like you are entering into the inner chambers. So the inner chambers is right there on the right, both for the gents and for the female. Please, I'll also crave your indulgence to look up for the signage so that you don't find yourself in the wrong place, but they are properly labeled. We also want to ask that you please minimize movements so that we don't have too many distractions. And for those who are joining us online, what we would like to do is to take your questions from the comment section of the live streaming. So if you have questions for us as the session is going on, kindly drop your comments in your questions on the comment section of the streaming that you're watching right now. Whatever it is that you also want to share with us, drop it in the comment section and someone will take the question when the time arises. All right, let me quickly introduce myself. My name is Fola Daniel and I'll be your compere. It's a good thing you're stuck with me for the next 2 hours. Don't worry, you wouldn't have to bother your head. So I'm the compere for today and I would be with you. I'm sure that we're going to have a very wonderful time. I personally look forward to some of the discussions that we're going to have today. I'll go straight to the business of today without wasting too much of our time, and I would invite our special host for today for the welcome address. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't mind, I'll suggest that we do this with a standing ovation as we make welcome Mrs. Folasade Kilaso, Managing Partner, Berkeley Legal.
Thank you, Fola. Thank you, everyone. I'll start by, first of all, recognizing our special guest of honor, distinguished panelists, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning to everyone. I'm delighted to welcome you to the Legacy Summit being organized by Berkeley Legal. Berkeley Legal is a leading corporate commercial law firm. We provide end-to-end legal services to both local and international clients. Our areas of expertise include probate and administration, labor and employment, banking and finance, capital market. We are certified by the Securities and Exchange Commission to act as solicitors in capital market transactions. We have a thriving litigation department. We deal with real estate, intellectual property, and much more. The full details of our services can be found on our website at www.berkeleylp.com. Today, our focus is on our probate and estate administration. That is why we're here today. And for our probate and estate administration, we offer services such as the drafting and lodging of wills, obtaining grants of probate, processing letters of administration, investigating and dealing with disposal of assets, transmission of shares, bank accounts, in helping those who are looking to work with the estates of their late ones. In rendering these services, we work with a number of professionals and institutions, such as those who will be represented on the panel today. And we know of some of the challenges that beneficiaries and personal representatives face in trying to deal with the assets of their loved ones. We therefore consider it useful to organize this summit with relevant stakeholders to further enhance our understanding of this very important topic and to proffer solutions which may ease some of the challenges experienced in the probate and estate administration in Nigeria. The summit today, we believe, will not only guide us, but also educate us, especially individuals who are bereaved and do not have a will to guide them in how to go about identifying, collecting, managing, and disposing of the assets of their loved ones. We hope there will be lots of knowledge to share and to gain today. As attendees, you will have the opportunity to interact directly with representatives from different industries. We have here today the legal practice, stockbrokers and investment advisory, pension funds, general commerce, and the probate registry. It's also an important opportunity to network. That's why we're here. And I'm hoping to be able to network with as many of you as possible at the end of this summit. Please let us maximize our time here. I know we've started late, but I would like it to be an engaging and a very interactive session. Please feel free to ask questions, and I hope at the end of it, we're going to go home with some new ideas, some new ways in which we'll deal with this very important topic today. Thank you very much.
You know, you people clapped as though you were just minimally encouraging her. A quick tip when you go for events. You need to watch how you clap and who you clap for. You know, most times people believe that when you go for Nigerian events, sometimes you still have to you still need connection to get jollof rice. The real truth is you really don't need jollof rice to get connection. Once MC is introducing some people, if you don't clap for the right people, you see there are people who are watching you. Once you don't clap for the right people, jollof rice does not get to you. Once you clap for the right people, jollof rice will get to you. All right, just a quick one while she was speaking about the services of the company. It then occurred to me, and I wanted to ask a question and pose the question to you. So you think about it, you answer maybe after the event when you see me. Can you bequeath something to your pets, like your dogs? You know, some people outside of this country can do that, right? Like your Alsatian dogs, your German shepherds, and all those wonderful dogs, all those dogs that look like, you know, giants and stuff like that. Let me just quickly call on our next guest, who is also going to deliver the keynote for today. Ladies and gentlemen, we have with us the President, Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, is the Deputy President, Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mr. Gabriel Idahosa, FCA. Please give him a wonderful round of applause. Clap for jollof rice. Oh.
Good morning. Your Honor, panelists, participants, the moderator, our hosts, it's my pleasure to attend this summit and participate in what promises to be a very informative experience. I commend the organizers of the event, Berkeley Legal, for such a thoughtful, noteworthy themed event, the Legacy Summit. Probate and estate administration is one of the very important aspects of asset management anywhere. Individuals in their lifetime are actively engaged in acquiring, managing, and transferring assets and legacies, and some deliberately want to leave some of these legacies behind, and upon their demise, to their relatives or beneficiaries who are expected to take proper care of these assets. And as we know, there have been innumerable instances where the deceased pass on without a will. And the relatives or beneficiaries they leave behind are left to sort out what assets there are and who will take care of them and what to do with those assets. These assets and legacies can be passed through generations by proper management of these assets, either by named representatives or through engagement of skilled professionals and institutions. We are aware that where such assets are mismanaged, it usually doesn't last or survive even one generation. At the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, our services include collecting and disseminating information of a business nature through business advisory and education services. In doing this, the Chamber partners with and participates in programs that aligns with these goals and objectives. And this Legacy Summit is one of such programs. It is therefore not unusual that we are here to support this laudable event. There is no doubt that probate and estate administration, viewed beyond an individual, poses a lot of opportunities for everyone: beneficiaries, personal representatives, professionals, institutions, and even the economy of any country. I believe that this summit will be very instructive to ease some of the challenges faced by individuals and representatives about probate administration and legacies. Participants will gain valuable knowledge from professionals and institutions represented here on how to trace and assess assets of loved ones, manage or dispose of them, or transmit these assets to the appropriate beneficiaries. You will also understand the legal processes involved in assessing these assets to build for generational use. It is on this hope and expectation that I thank you, and once again thank Berkeley Legal for getting us together to learn this very important aspect of life. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Need I remind you that it's also very important to clap for him very well. You know, the conference reminds me of one thing and one question that a young girl went to ask her parents. First of all, it reminds me of the fact that one day we're all going to return to wherever it is that we came from. And on that note, I'm reminded of the question that this young lady went to ask her mom. So this young lady went to say, "Mom, where did we all come from?" And mom said, "You know, in the beginning, God created Adam and God created Eve. And after creating Adam and Eve, and they began to give birth, that's how we all came to this earth." You know, children are never satisfied, right? So this same girl went to the dad. "Daddy, where did we all come from?" And daddy said, "You know, in the beginning, there was evolution, and we had apes, we had monkeys, and then they began to evolve, and then they became human beings, and that's how we all came." Confused. The girl went back to the mom and said, "Mom, you said God created Adam and Eve, And that's how we all came. Daddy said they were apes, and then they gave birth, they evolved. That's how we all came. What exactly is happening? The mom said, well, I told you where I came from. Your father told you where he came from. That's all I get for that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's now time to introduce the rest of the panelists that we have for today so that we can quickly go to the business of today. You already have met the managing partner, Berkeley Legal, Mrs. Folasade Kilaso, who is already on stage, and you have just heard from Mr. Gabriel Idahosa, FCA, Deputy President, Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry. It is now my pleasure to invite the Mr. Oluwaseun Dosumu from Passion Partners. Please give him a round of applause. And the next person I have the pleasure of inviting to the stage is Mr. Olushola Ayodele from Leadway Penshaw. Finally, but not the least, and if you allow me to borrow the proverbial parlance of the Yorubas, who often say it's the biggest masquerade in the room that dances last. If you're Yoruba, I'm sure you can interpret that. Anyone can make an attempt to interpret that? Did you hear what I said? The biggest masquerade in the room is the one that... Oh, okay, I didn't hear what you said. All right, ladies and gentlemen, please make welcome Her Honor, Chief Magistrate, Lagos State Judiciary, Her Honor, Madam Taiwo Deborah Akani. Okay. Having introduced our panelists, I would now allow the managing partner to take over and drive this conversation before we come back to some of the questions that I have waiting for them.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. So we now go into the nitty-gritty of why we're here today. As I said earlier, and as you heard in the keynote address as well, our main area of focus today is about probate, administration, but we're zoning in on a particular area, unclaimed assets. Unclaimed assets left by people who have died interstate. That is, people who have died without leaving a will behind. In all the promotional materials that were sent out, you will have seen there that the area where we think we need to continue to educate people on about is about these unclaimed assets. And what do I mean by unclaimed assets? Assets such as shares, bonds, treasury bills, pension funds, insurance policies, monies in bank accounts. At the beginning of the session, I did say I would like this summit to be interactive. So I'm going to throw a question out there and say, can anyone tell me the amount, just give a monetary value to what you think is out there in terms of unclaimed assets? Assets that have been left behind by people who are no longer here, but yet to be claimed by their loved ones. So, over to the audience. Just throw any numbers out there. In terms of this unclaimed asset, what do you think the value is? How much do you think we're talking about? It doesn't matter, just throw any amount. Just No, we don't want that to answer us first. Anybody else in the audience?
My name is Momo. I want to believe it's limitless. You can't really put a number, but it must have been in, if we talk about global or we're talking about local as in Nigeria.
We're talking about local. Let's keep it local. Let's keep it
local,
Nigeria. Local.
Even local, it's going to run into trillions of naira. That I can assure you. In terms of assets.
That is absolutely correct. We're not even going to assets. I'm going to go to assets in a minute. You are absolutely right. Trillions of naira. Over 2 trillion naira are unclaimed. Yeah, clap for him, clap for him, clap for him. Over 2 trillion naira are unclaimed presently. We've got statistics to show that. And these over 2 trillion naira we've talked about is just in relation to those assets I've described. Now, when it comes to landed properties, okay? Again, can anyone guess what the amount of unclaimed properties are? I'm sure you've all seen around you, wherever you go in Lagos or Nigeria, dilapidated properties and empty land. Empty land, dilapidated properties all across the nation. Can you again try to imagine and put a value on that? Because these are properties that belong to people who have worked hard for their money, worked hard to make these investments, and these properties are lying across empty with people who could be entitled to them not knowing what to do. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is an area that needs focusing on. In an area that we need to find solutions around. Just imagine what all these assets could do for the Nigerian economy. If people who are seated here today, who know of people who are entitled to such assets, can come forward to claim. So the importance of wills as an estate and succession planning tool cannot be overemphasized. So let's start the discussion. If someone dies without writing a will, so that person died intestate, for their loved ones to get access to their assets, they will have to get what we call a letter of administration. It is recommended that you get a lawyer to help you with this process. I know some people might think they can do it on their own, and it's not impossible to do it on your own, but when you understand the extent of the things you have to put together, it's better to engage the experts to support you with this. As legal practitioners, we provide services that will assist in asset tracing. Asset tracing is the first step in the process of getting a letter of administration. You need experts to help you to identify, to collect, to manage and dispose of these assets. Berkeley Legal works with professionals in doing this, and we have some of those professionals on the panel this morning. So I'm going to call on Mr. Shola Ayodele from Leadway to just explain to us how their organization helps with this process and what other services Leadway provides in the probate sector. Thank you, Shola.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone. With respect to the question, I will start off by saying that I work with Leadway Pension PFA, a leading brand in the pension industry in Nigeria. Leadway has been in existence for well over 50 years. And when the pension scheme started, we were one of the first set of companies that were licensed as pension fund managers. And as a date, we've actually grown over the years, managing asset for close to 700,000 people. And as a date, we have assets in excess of about 700 billion rather. To add to that, you find out that in the pension industry, a lot of people register for pension and they've made contribution over the years. Some die in service, and you realize that their family members are not even aware that they have any form of investment. It is our responsibility to ensure that we contact first the employer to identify what actually happened, and to also know if there are next of kin, because they would have provided their next of kin. We trace from that level until we are able to identify someone that will come forth, and we do our own due diligence. But it is important that they must come up with, relevant document, which has to do with letter of administration, as you stated. If there's a will, it helps. And this actually helps in ensuring that the assets are claimed. But I want to tell you that in Nigeria as of today, from my own experience, there are a lot that is still outstanding to be claimed. And it is a major issue that we need to address. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you.
Okay, so I have a few questions. I believe that you've been enjoying the conversation so far. Is that correct? I hope you're listening. Okay, so don't see me as Olodo. What I'm about to say, I'm saying it jokingly. So from what you have said so far, anybody who dies intestate means they died without an intestine. It's a joke, oh. That's not what they said, though.
Died without a will.
Oh, okay, not intestine. Oh, okay. Intestate, intestine. I was thinking. All right, ladies and gentlemen, my next question would go to. We started with Mr. Olushola Ayodele. I still have a few more questions for you. So I'm now going to ask you, as part of estate planning, why is having pension fund very important?
Okay, thank you. Pension is actually critical because you find out that a lot of people are working, they've actually worked for several years, and you realize that they do not have any plan for the future. And I would say that most people feel whatever they do today will sustain them forever. You also find out that a lot of us feel, well, you have a good job, you've earned so much, you have savings here and there, and with that, I can take care of myself when old age comes. Without realizing that if you have the fund, if it is not properly put to use, and you do not really have something set aside specifically for your pensions, you are likely to live a life that you didn't plan for. Because you'll find out that you could go into a business, and at the end of the day, you do not have, you are not able to make the returns that you expect. In some cases, we've had people that even at the point of retirement, they've been able to access some fund, and the fund assessed, they go into a wrong business. They see, when you have money, especially at old age, and you are not used to a particular business, you've worked 9 to 4 for so long, and you are so used to the salary, you get your pay, and then you go home, you are able to take care of yourself. And by the time you are already 50 or 60, you want to go into a business. If you don't understand the rudiment of the business, you are likely to fail. So we always advise that at retirement, part of planning is to ensure that if you want to do anything in the future, start early. Ensure that you start small and start putting something aside so that when you test waters, you are sure that that business is what you do understand the process of the business and you can actually manage it. So to cut it short, pension is very, very important because it is not just about having assets everywhere. If you don't set something aside specifically for pension, you are likely not to be able to sustain your lifestyle. It is very, very key because those assets that you have in other areas, if they are not properly channeled, you'll find out that you may lose some of it and you are left, without anything to fall back to. Old age is very, very important. We usually say that at that time, you are not thinking of anything else than just for you to be able to feed well, maintain your environment, have a place to rest your head, small garden where you can actually relax, and then take good care of your health. Those key things are very, very important. And if you're able to put this in place, it will really help, the individual to live long. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I see you trying to work on our emotions and painting pictures. All right, Mrs. Kilaso, you wanted to interject?
Yeah, I listened to what he was saying very carefully, and we can't say it again how important it is to save for the future, and having a pension is a very important tool to save for your future. Mr. Ayodele, what would you say is the best time to start putting a pension fund together? Because people have this misconception that, oh, I'm too young now. I don't need to save anything for my pension. Our pension is for the old ones. So, can you help with that kind of, the kind of scenario when the young ones just think, oh, it's too far away for me? So when would you advise? When is the best time? Is there ever a best time to start saving for your pension?
Well, thank you very much. I would say that the best time is when you get a job. Instantly, the first job. A lot of people tend to postpone it. They feel, oh, maybe when I'm close to that time, I will think about it. You find a lot of people that are doing very well right now, especially in the private space. They are not employed under any employer, but they have their private business that they're running, and they feel that, oh, I don't need pensions. Don't worry, I don't need pensions. But you realize that if you don't start early, by the time you feel that you want to start, you will not be able to amass enough funds that can actually see you through retirement. That is the danger. So we always say that start now. Even those that were probably have been in employment for a while, or they're running their personal business, we encourage that you start now and build on it. For us in Leadway, we have platforms in place whereby we can actually guide you on what you require. So if you engage us, we'll sit you down and put you through on what you require at retirement. So if you tell us, this is the kind of lifestyle I want to live when I retire, there are calculators that we'll have. It's on our website. We can actually take you through and explain to you, this is what you need to save on a monthly basis towards this purpose. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just one quick question for you before I go on to Passion Partners. And the quick question is, can you access this fund before you die?
Interesting. Okay. I will start off by saying that a lot of people do not believe that, the fund is real. We have people that have saved money and they still feel that, oh, it's statutory, especially those that are in paid employment. It's statutory. They are deducting my money. I don't even know whether I'll get it in the future. But I want to tell us that it is real. A lot of people have actually been accessing this fund, and you will get it when you retire. It is given. It's backed by law. And for us as pension fund administrator, the industry has actually changed since 2004 when we had a new law, which is Pension Reform Act 2004, which has actually been updated after that in 2014. With the new Pension Reform Act, for anyone who has saved under this act, you will be able to access your entitlement when you retire. And it makes it very easy. Unlike the olden days, those days when people have to go and queue somewhere, you don't need to tip anybody before you can get your pension. Right now, walk into your PFA's office and you will be able to access your benefit. We'll put you through all the process. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will still discuss the details, but I just need to also go to the other panelists. Now to Mr. Oluwaseun Dosunmu. Now you've heard from Berkeley Legal about the classes of assets, including shares, stocks, and all of that. Will you recommend acquisition of these assets as part of estate planning?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you. Definitely, yes. Okay. And the reason being that these assets generate wealth for you going forward. So let me pick the first one you talked about, stocks. So for instance, one buys stocks, especially those fundamental stocks that pay dividend, and you have them over a period of time. You know that going forward, based on or depending on the performance of the companies, if they do very well, you know that those companies will pay dividend, and this dividend is a form of income going forward. So it will be a form of benefit for the beneficiaries. That's if, eventually they get to have those stocks. The same thing too for, bonds. They pay coupons every 6 months, especially, they pay coupon every 6 months. So you know that, for instance, when somebody buys a particular bond, you get this coupon every 6 months. So they're actually very, very good financial instruments to have.
Awesome.
Yes.
Now, this would lead me to the next question still to you. I remember when I was much younger, on my days on campus, I bought shares from one particular bank. I think it's called Citibank or something. How many remember there's this bank, one yellow bank like that? It has transformed. So you buy shares from companies. Some of them change names. So there's merger, there's acquisition and stuff like that. How do you advise people to track their investments so that they don't lose what they have heavily invested in?
Okay. So for that, basically what we recommend is that when you're buying stocks and when you're buying any fixed income instruments, you deal with financial services firms that, are reputable. That industry is highly regulated, and you need to keep in touch with what you have. One of the mistakes, we've observed over time is that people who have these investments don't really pay too much attention. They know, oh, I have shares somewhere, I don't really know. I don't think that's how to manage hard-earned, investments. You need to pay attention to them. Apart from that, you can also employ the services of trustees. Those people would manage the assets that you have over time and ensure that, you are carried along with whatever is happening with your investments.
Say no more, because my mom is on that table.
Just a very quick one. Buying stock sounds, like rightly said, a key part in terms of, building your estate, planning for your estate and all of that. But how easy is it to buy shares? People hear all of these shares and all of that. MTN comes around. People, okay, I know the MTN and I know the process how to buy it. But others, how do you buy shares? What does Parthian do? What do you do? How can you support in that respect?
Okay, thank you. So under Parthian Partners, we have Parthian Securities, a stockbroking firm. Basically, the first question you ask, how do you buy shares? First of all, you need to understand the market, understand why you are buying these stocks. Now, if you go to a stockbroking firm and sign up with them, you would have access to their research materials, like Parthian Partners. They send out materials every day. One in the morning to give you information about, what we expect to happen that day, what happened the previous day. One that goes out around 12 noon that says, oh, during market activities, this was happening. And one that goes out at the end of the day that says, oh, during trading activities, this happened. Now, if you select a stockbroking firm like Parthian, and you have access to that information, they keep you abreast with, what's happening in the market, what's happening with different stocks, which stocks to buy, which ones will pay you dividend, which ones have good potential upside. Having all this information is very important. Now, once you get this on a periodic basis, it informs your decision. Oh, I want to buy these stocks because I've seen that, oh, their performance over a period of time has been doing quite well. We're seeing that, oh, they have prospects in terms of new businesses. For example, we know that the telcos were granted the payment service bank license, which just means that the telecommunications companies now can operate as a bank. Which just means that those telcos will do very well. It just means more money for them. Having that information at the back of our minds tells us, oh, I want to buy MTN shares. After signing up with a stockbroking firm, all you have to do is just fund your account. You are given access to a trading platform. We have iInvest, is a fintech subsidiary where you can buy stocks very easy from your phone, laptop, very, very easy. You would already have, once you log on to the platform, you already have the list of stocks based on the amount or quantity you want to buy and the price. And you also, one fantastic thing about this is that you have access to people who trade on a daily basis. You have access to research materials, you have access to the brokers. So for some people that might decide, oh, I don't want to trade myself, I don't want to go and make a mistake, you have access to brokers who can help you. And for those who decide, I want to handle this, you have access to trade by yourself from the comfort of your home, using your phone, using your laptop, the web platform, using the mobile platform is actually quite easy. But what I would always recommend is that information is key. We shouldn't just treat our shares, our stocks, our investments casually, because we actually work hard to make this money. So we should actually pay attention to them. One of the mistakes that our parents made back then was the fact that they bought shares and they just left them. I know my my mom talks about it a lot. Oh, I bought this company shares. I don't even know what's happening. This. I've tried my possible best to ensure that, I sign her up to the company. She gets information and she also gets her dividend. It's only when she gets her dividend that she remembers that, oh, I actually have some. I got dividend from Zenith Bank. But I think that we should, actively monitor the investments that we have. We shouldn't just leave them fallow. I mean, once you do that, once you have the app on your phone, you can monitor the stocks that you have. You can monitor their performances. You would know when they're going to pay dividends. I mean, once you get emails from the research department, you would know when they're going to pay dividends. You know how the company is performing. That way, you can even decide, you know what, I've stayed too long in this sector. Let me try this sector. So, I mean,
fantastic.
I think definitely technology has made it easier now to do that. I think having that app, like you described, definitely will help. But we're talking about the unclaimed ones. So we have quite a number of shares. People who have bought shares who, like your mom, like my mom, that can't remember what they invested in, not talk of how they trace it. Is there anything you can say about helping in that respect?
Oh, yes. We provide this service called Global Search. Global Search in the sense that for instance, our parents that might have bought shares in a particular company, you don't have the full information, just reach out to the company. I mean, you can check through our website at parthianpartnersng.com or parthiansecuritiesng.com. Once you go there, you can go to the Contact Us page, and someone will definitely respond that same day, giving you the information you need. So we have this global search service whereby some of our team members will go and search for what you have and give you the full information of what you might have. All we just need to see is that you come with proper documentation, means of ID and the likes. But it's very possible for us to help individuals recover unclaimed dividend or recover lost shares. Yes. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. That was a good one from Mr. Dosumu Oluwaseun, Parthian Partners. All right. Let me quickly go to Your Honor. You've heard Mrs. Kilaso mention at the beginning that once all assets have been traced and gathered, the next thing would be to apply for letters of administration at the probate registry. And just quickly before I ask the question here, somebody said something interesting online, one of our online viewers, and he said, I did my mom's letter of administration at my own at age 19. Where I realized I had been cheated was that I wasn't allowed to see the amount in my mom's bank account. I was simply made to just agree that I collected 120,000. Now the question is, may I ask Your Honor to enlighten us on the probate and estate administration process at the Lagos State Registry?
I'm sorry. Good afternoon, everyone present here and those hooked online. Before I go on, I want to introduce what my position is at the probate registry. At the probate registry, we have two divisions, that is Ikeja and Lagos. So we have head of probate in Ikeja and Lagos. We are appointed there as chief magistrate. But our position there is just to see that the grants that are prepared are well prepared, they meet with the requirements of the law, and then if there's any problems in the operational system of the registry, we wade in to see that the problems are resolved before it gets to the probate registrar, who also double as the chief registrar. So that is my assignment there. But I want to say that if you are here and you are listening, if you have any issue, please don't hesitate to walk into any of the head of probate to make your complaint known if you have any processes you are going on with. So that goes, I will now go to the question. The probate administration, like I said earlier on, the probate administration is divided into two, that is Ikeja and Lagos registry. It is under the family division of the judiciary. And what we do mostly in the registry is administrative. Because if there's any issue with any, let's say the deceased died, test it, and then there is a contention on the validity of the will, then they have to first go to court and then resolve it before they can come to the registry after the court had made its order. But where the deceased died intestate, they come in, apply for letters of administration. And before now, what we were doing was manual operation, but we had to change to e-probate because of the challenges that we were experiencing then. It was slow, the process was slow. Then money was filtering out because the money wasn't really going to the government. The staffs were withholding processes like forms, and then a lot of delays. So the authority looked at it, what can we do to make the system seamless? And then they came up with e-probate. So with the e-probate, I will not go to that because I know it's another question. And I want to say that administration of estates is defined as the procedure of granting or revoking letters of administration or probate. Probate where there is a will. Letters of administration where the deceased died intestate and did not prepare a will. In probate, it's also divided into two, because where you have gone to court, you'll be given a probate grant in common law, in common form. But where you have not gone to court, you have it in, I'm sorry now, I can't remember the other phrase now. So it is two in probate registry, in probate grants. But if it is letters of administration, once you are able to meet up with the requirements, because it has priority of those that have to apply. Once they are able to meet up with that requirement, first, the first priority is a surviving spouse. And then the children, the father, the mother, they come after that. There are statutory laws that back up this procedure. There's also rules of the court and then practice direction that we use in operating the probate registry to let us have a grant ready or a grant of probate or letters of administration ready for the collection of the applicants.
Fantastic. Let me quickly ask a question based on the phrase that you used, surviving spouse, which can become very complicated within the Nigerian context. You do understand that, don't you? Now, when you hear surviving spouse, for example, I know that the law recognizes one legal wife, but then the custom, which the law recognizes as well, in some quarters, permits 4 wives, 3 wives, 2 wives. So someone has 2, 3, 4 surviving spouses. What happens within that context where you have said a surviving spouse is the priority?
Well, I want to believe that the provision of the law, that because that section is under Section 45 of the Administration of Estate Law, and that provision of the law has in mind marriage contracted under the Marriage Act. But we all know that by the provision of the Constitution, nobody should be denied of his right by virtue of the nature of his birth. And we also have international laws like CEDAW that protect parties that comes from multiple relationship. Yeah. So where there are no rifts, the parties can come together, agree among themselves, and then choose who should be the administrator, because the law permits that you can have not less than 2 administrators and not more than 4 administrators. So in a situation where we have maybe 4 wives, each of the branches can always choose somebody to represent the family to be administrators. So when it comes to the issue of dividing the estate, at least each of them can have a representative. But if there's going to be a rift, then we don't have a choice. They don't have a choice than to go to court and go and resolve it in the court law.
Okay.
Yes.
Awesome. So you see that if you were really busy when you were alive, by the time you are gone, you leave us with a lot of activities to deal with as well. All right, one more question for you. So, Your Honor, what are the innovations? I know that you touched on it a bit, so let's elaborate more on the innovations that have been introduced to ease the process.
Okay.
And sorry, just before you answer that, I just want to quickly inform those who are watching online that we're aware that you're there, we're conscious of you, so we will be taking questions in a jiffy, and please, if you have questions, you can drop your questions in the comment section, just like we mentioned earlier. We'll pick your questions from there. Over to you, ma'am.
Like I said earlier, because of all the challenges that the manual operation of probate was giving us at that time, they came up with an e-probate, that is electronic probate. And it was launched on 28th day of March 2018 by the former Chief Justice of Lagos State, Honorable Justice Oke. And since then, we have been operating that platform. Our platform is lagosjudiciary.gov.ng. So by that operation, all you need to do is to open a portal. If you have not registered with us, you open our portal. Like I said, the portal I just cited now, you open it, then you register by your email or your phone number. If you register, you now have access to an OPT, that is one-time password. After the one-time password, then you can continue with your process. But what we discover is that mostly people are not usually patient. So in order to assist applicants, we had to open a kind of assistance registry to assist applicants in carrying out the application. That is, we have, what do we call it now? Resource center, where we assist applicants that are not computer savvy. So they come in, bring in their applications, because there are some requirements. You come with your application, you come with the death certificate, you come with the valid ID cards of the administrator, who should not be less than 2 or more than 4. And you come in with a passport photograph, 2 passport photographs of the administrators, and then a passport photograph of the deceased person. Once you come in, you make your payment at the cashier office. Once you make your payment, which is about 3,500 naira for the processing, you pay for the form, which is 5,000 naira. With all the requirements that you bring in, we feed in into our system, and then we fill in all necessary information, punch out all the forms, give it to the applicants, and then we also prepare for them a bank certificate that they will take to the different financial institutions where the disease had left assets. pensions office, banks, and etc. So by the time he goes in there, all these processes I've explained doesn't take more than 15 minutes. Before you have your bank certificate, you go to the financial institution, present it. They will write out. Once they are, if you are able to get the bank certificate to us on time, you can have your assessment, the assessment of the estate fee that very day, and then you go and make your payment by bank draft. When you make your payment for bank the estate fees, you come back. When you come back, before then, we have to open a file with a file number. Once you are able to open that file, then we give you the bank certificate. You go to the bank, you come back with the bank certificate. If you come back with the bank certificate, we do the assessment, you go and make your payment, you pay for the publication if it's a large estate. If it's not a large estate, if it's a small estate, we're talking about 100,000, less than 100,000. That's the small estate. But the possibility of increasing it to 1.5 million, looking at the financial situation of the country, now the valuation, the inflation rate of Nigeria, but we are still on it because of the problem we are facing at the House of Assembly, because it's a provision of the law, not rules. If it had been the rules, it is what the CJ can work on immediately. Okay. So if it is not a small estate, if it is a small estate, the publication will be done within 14 days. Okay. If it is a big estate, it goes for 21 days. And after the 21 days, they come back, they interview the shorties, because we have to have shorties to ensure that the applicants that are applying, the administrators that are applying are the proper person. Because if it is a will, it is taken that the testator knew those he wants to administer his estate. Okay. So there is no problem about that. There is no publication in probate. But where it is in probate grant, but where it is letters of administration, a stranger can come in, because you have a situation like that, where a stranger came in, they are just neighbors, and they apply for letters of administration before the family member knew that they are not even related at all. Wow. But when there is a publication, at least it is a notice to the world, they can come across it and say, oh, let's go and file a caveat, and then stop the process. So that's the purpose of the publication.
Thank you. Thank you very much, ma'am. Niger. Over sharpness is worrying some Nigerians. Can you imagine just imagining that because your neighbor is rich and then the family members may not know, you just walk into the registry and then apply for letter of administration? That's something else. Okay, so you mentioned something, not a question, I'm just commenting on what you said. A picture of a passport photograph of the deceased. Yes. I know some Nigerians, the moment they turn 80, they stop taking pictures. Once you want to take a picture of them, maybe people say, mommy, daddy, you need to come together, let's have a family picture. They say, hey, is the picture you want to use to bury me that you want to take, Abi? So I know some elderly people like that. Once they attain a certain age, forget it. You can't get them to take any picture again. So I was just thinking of how difficult that might be. All right, so from all the discussion so far, Mrs. Kilaso, you agree, it appears, to put your house in order before anyone dies, because death is inevitable. Don't you agree, ma'am?
Absolutely, I do. It's very, very important, like we've all heard now, to put your house in order. Writing a will is essential. You can't get away from it. And it's better for you to do that. Just hearing what our honorable magistrate has just said now. You want to be in charge. You've worked hard for your money. So you must make sure that when you leave, you've left it in good pair of hands. You've left it for those who you really want to be the real beneficiaries, and not leave it to people who don't know you to start distributing your assets. Like she mentioned, there's so many people out there that might want to take advantage. People, uncles, friends, old friends, neighbors, pretending to know you and pretending to want some part of the assets you've left behind. So writing a will, taking charge as you've taken charge when you were alive. Because when you were alive, you worked hard, you made all those savings. So you also need, as you were meticulous in guiding your life or your assets when you were alive, you need to do the same thing to prepare for this death that we all know is inevitable. I know talking about death is something that most people find uncomfortable. Oh, no, I don't have to worry about that now. I'm young. Oh, no, yes, if I get old, things will work out. No, they don't work out because you've not left your life to chance. You've actually, at this stage, planned your life. So it's also important that you plan for your afterlife as well. Help your loved ones. If you genuinely love them, then you know that you have to plan for them. So planning for them means having a will. When you have a will, that first step of identifying your assets are done because you know what your assets are. When you come to the lawyer to draft your will for you, the first thing they're going to say to you, they give you a form and say, list your assets. That listing of assets is very critical because it's those assets that you list that can then be distributed to your loved ones. If you die intestate without a will, they're running helter-skelter, trying to remember, oh, daddy had that land in Abeokuta, oh, daddy had that land in Chicago. You know, you plan your life, list the assets are identified. So when you die, you're only leaving it now to those who you have chosen you want it to be for. And you're choosing your executors. You're choosing the people you know and trust will be able to follow your instructions in terms of how your assets are supposed to be dealt with. So writing a will, essential. And I'm sure most of the audience here today, this is not the first time you're hearing this, but we can't stop hearing it. We have to continually educate people, show awareness about this important area. So I hope that this little discussion we've had this afternoon has again gingered that thought process into your minds. It's not too late to write a will. You're not too young to start writing a will. I think the age limit or the age where you can start writing a will is 18 years old. So you can start writing your will from 18 years old. Writing a will at 18 doesn't mean your will is there forever. You can keep changing it. As you acquire more assets, as you develop more in life, you can do changes to your will. And then you also heard us talk about pension. You're never too young to start having a pension. The moment you start working, that's the time you need to start setting something aside for your pension. You can start little. You don't have to start in any big, major way. And I also always say, one area that people always also neglect is that, okay, it's easy to have a pension when you're working for somebody. So you're employed. But the Nigerian economy, the Nigerian work process is more around those self-employed. So those self-employed, you have to be disciplined in putting something together for your future. It's very important that all these things you take care of. And it is never too late to start. If you haven't got a pension now, it's not too late to start. If you haven't got one, you can speak to Leadway. They have a booth at the end of this session with the various products they have for the employed and the self-employed. Again, building your portfolio will include different types of security. Securities around shares, around bonds, around treasury bills. Those are the things that, again, are out there that people are not aware of. So just buying properties is not the only investment that is out there that you can make to secure your future. So I hope with the discussions we've had today, you've got a variety of things that you're going to take with you. I know we're going to open it up for questions and answers now, which is very important. And I'm just going to say we have a booth at the end of this session. So please stay behind and be able to interrogate each one of us on this panel and find out more about what Parthian Partners does, what Leadway does, what the magistrate does, and what LCCI also does. So over to you, Madrid.
Thank you very much. Once again, let me quickly appreciate. Please, yes, that's welcome. A round of applause for every one of them. Let me say, while I'm saying thank you to everyone on the stage, I want to quickly crave the indulgence of Mr. Femi Dowu from Berkeley Legal to come forward and help with the question and answer session. So again, I want to say a big thank you to Mr. Oluwaseun Dosumu from Parthian Partners. I want to say thank you to Your Honor, Madam Taiwo Deborah Akane. Thank you very much. Again, a big thank you to Mr. Olushola Ayodele from Leadway Pension. Thank you so much. And again, another thank you to Mr. Gabriel Idaosa, FCA, Deputy President, Lagos Chamber of Commerce. Thank you, sir. So we now take questions from the audience here. So Mr. Femi Idowu will moderate that question. But just one quick thing. Someone online, Oluwagbemisola Esther, is saying, thank you for this eye-opener summit. What are the processes and steps that need to be taken to get appropriate administration done? I believe that Your Honor has done justice to that question if you were listening to her when she spoke. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, everyone. So, thank you, moderator. Thank you, the panelists. The first question here, sorry, sir, goes to Mr. Idahosa. Someone online here has a question for you. He says, as a chartered accountant, sir, and business advisor, what other recommendations do you have to add to what has been discussed today?
Thank you. Well, I think a lot has been said about this subject matter. Perhaps the most important thing to emphasize is that all of this must be built around multiple income streams. You cannot be said to be financially independent or financially secure if you do not have multiple income streams. So, as Party and Partners have said, as Leadway has said, you have to have income streams, whether they are pensions, whether they're property, whether it's treasury bills. For example, during COVID, if you had an airline, your income came to zero for several months. If you had a hotel, your income came to zero in a couple of months. If you had a school, a very top school in Ikoyi, the income came to zero during COVID. So I think that's something that underpins all this discussion, that you need to have an investment portfolio that ensures that you have multiple income streams. That is the most important addition I would like to make. The point about financial planning has been emphasized, but I think it is important that it is ingrained, it is repeated. The MC said when he was in school, he started buying shares. That is what should happen. Some of us from our student allowances bought their first shares. Those shares were 50 kobo at that time. Some of those shares you are selling for some ridiculous amount now were bought by students for maybe 1% of the current price. So investment starts from when you are in school. Your will writing starts from when you are young. Because you are not going to get a phone call from the giver of life to say, I'm going to call your life in 3 weeks' time, so arrange your will or whatever. And there is no time. The giver of life does not say you are going to live for 18 years or for 80 years or for 90 years or for 19 years. So I think it's very important, especially for our younger ones here. This is not a discussion for elderly people. It is not. It's once you earn income, 18, 19, once you earn income, you start to invest, you write your first will, and then you can always upgrade your will. And I think one thing Berkeley Legal should stress now is that will writing is no more elitist. It's no more something for a certain class of people. Before it was like, oh, will? Those rich people who have a lot of money, have many buildings and properties, they can't even remember where they are. That's why they are writing wills. That time has changed. And will writing out also, I believe, Berkeley Legal, we also assure you, has become quite affordable. Some of us, at some point, when you hear wills and you hear the caliber of lawyers that are talking about wills, yeah, let me go to this lawyer to write a will. I can't even afford even entering his office or our office before I write a will. I'm sure the fee will be more than the assets that I have. So wills have also become quite affordable. And there are so many ways of getting your will written. Those are the points I would like to stress.
Thank you very much, sir. Before I proceed to the next question on the internet, do you have any questions? Can I get a question from the audience, please?
Thank you. Good afternoon. I've been enjoying the conversation. I have a whole lot that I've written down. But a particular area has caught my interest. And, you know, it's from the place of understanding the dynamics of our economy right now. And like you have rightly said that, you know, there are a lot of entrepreneurs now. And, you know, so I used to be in the 9 to 5 before I transitioned into full employment. So at some point, I know I abandoned my pension when I was trying to find my feet. And then eventually, you know, came back to where we had to structure the company. But I know it's not the case for a lot of entrepreneurs. And sometimes I, you know, try to imagine down the line and see what it may be like in the future. So I wanted to know, in terms of advocacy for that group of people, you know, because I think genuinely a lot of people don't know, you know, they may not be as futuristic to see that our parents, they may not be earning so much in pension, you know, based on where they got enrolled, but at least they have something. I worry for, you know, quite a number of people in our own generation because we're not really giving so much thought to it as such. So I wanted to know, in terms of advocacy, you know, which is why I like what this summit is all about. But in terms of advocacy, what more are we doing to capture, you know, let people become more aware and actually bring them into the nest? And also, in terms of the kind of programs or, you know, products that are available to them, do we really have those products? I would like to know more about that. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that question, and it's a very interesting one. I'm sure Shola here will be smiling because we had a pre-meeting before this event, and part of our discussion was, you know, this thing about wills, this thing about preparing for your future, this thing about pension, how do we raise the awareness outside the employment space? Because we know those people who are employed, and the law has now made it clear you have to have a pension and you have to contribute. I have my sister who has a shop in Arieko, and I was saying to him, these events that we're organizing, how do we balance the type of corporate look that we're looking for, and then those in Arieko that really, really needs this? You know, how do we get to them? How do we get them to understand? They're self-employed. How do you get them to understand that saving for your future starts now? This pension thing, this will thing. And Shola, what do we conclude? How did we say we're going to manage that space?
All right, thank you very much. We actually said, one, we will organize a forum specifically for those category of people, and try to create more awareness. Right now in the pension industry, we have a collaborative exercise going on, especially between all the pension fund managers. So we've all come together under one umbrella to promote the micro pension space. It's called micro pension for individuals running their own business. And we are actually doing a lot in this space right now. We have a few companies that are also collaborating with us. And it's good that we are discussing this. We had this discussion, and I'm happy that we have you speaking about this. So we are trying as much as possible to do a lot about this, so that a lot of people will understand the importance of paying attention to it. There are so many people that were in paid employment before, but once they transition from paid employment into their own personal business, say, no, I'm okay with what I'm doing. That's the only thing you hear. But it's a major area that we all need to look into and ensure that we create that fund that will set aside. Add to what you already have. If you don't have at all, start now, and we can actually guide you and put you through on how to go about it. It's seamless. The process is quite easy, unlike corporate environment where you have to save a specific amount because of the law, which states, okay, you have to do 10% employer, 8% employee. For a private person, micro pension, you determine what you want to save based on your income. You are the one that will say, yes, I make so much and I can set this aside, and then you can then look at your plan. What do you intend to achieve? By the time you are 60, you want to start earning X amount. How do I arrive there? This is what I need to set aside. We'll guide you and take the person through that process and ensure that they are able to achieve their goal. Thank you.
Well, something to add about that, because what you have with this class of people in Okari, for example, is the question between Mohammed and the mountain. If the mountain is not going to go to Mohammed, Mohammed simply has to go to the mountain. These people are the mountain. They will never come to a country club or Ikoyi to hear anything that you have to say. So in Lagos Chamber of Commerce, we have 24 sectorial groups. So all the sectors of the economy are there. So for example, in Okari market, you have the market unions. You want them to understand microinsurance, but micro investments, you have to get down to your T-shirts and go to that market of the market leader and say, there's something called so. It's important to stress this, because when you are talking of financial inclusion, that is what this question is raising. Financial inclusion is about Mohammed going to the mountain. These rural people, these low-income people are the Mohammeds of the financial industry. They are not going to leave the market to come to a fancy symposium or a seminar, and, but they need the service. So you have to turn your business model on its head and go to them and speak their language, and they will understand. They are extremely smart. If you engage with these people, they get it much faster than you imagine if you speak their language. So it's something that I think particularly financial industry needs to do in developing countries where the financial structure has not been built in our society. In the advanced countries, in high school, in secondary school, you already know about insurance. In fact, your school fees in a lot of schools has insurance in it. And high school students know how to fill a tax form They are told how to feel that every April you have to fill your tax form and say your income is 0. You are a student, but you still have to fill a tax form. You have to get life insurance. So from the dinner table, they already learn those things. But here in Nigeria, many of us in Mushi, I grew up in Mushi, what is life insurance? Nobody told me about it. So somebody has to come to me and to say, these things are useful. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Thank you. I would just like to add that we actually have that in place. We go to the market space, we meet with the group. So for each market, we've been able to identify the association, even the spare part dealers. We have different associations that we engage, and that's how we're getting across to a lot of people. It's a gradual process. You find out that when you talk about it, people are excited. Some will start, then others will, hold on, just keep, following up and keep engaging them. And we're getting the traction gradually. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Do you have any other question from?
I've got a bit of comment and questions. First of all, I want to thank Berkeley Legal for putting out this. This is very, very informative and refreshing to know. It's part of what I call the reorientation, because there's a whole lot of them that we need in every sector. Our stockbroking firm too, we need a whole lot, because people are scared of putting their money in stocks and all that. And people are scared of doing pension because they think somebody will run away with their money and all that. But thank you, Berkeley Legal, for putting out this. It's very nice. 2 questions. I want to talk about, we know there's a whole lot of Nigerian funds and all that out there. Switzerland and the rest of them that has been carted away. And most of these people that they do this, they wouldn't even inform their family or anybody. Is there a way between the state, forget about the Abacha loot, I'm talking about those we did not even know about. This one, is there a way the state or families of those who are involved can get anything back? Because our funds out there in the Swiss world and the rest of them are being used to develop their country, and here we are. That's 1. 2, when my father passed, I was very young, and they asked me to be part of the discussion about sharing of property and all, and I said, hey, no, I'm not interested. I'm too young to get involved because of the obvious reasons, and you know what it means. All these uncles and the rest of them, you don't want to get involved with them. Is there a way to get involved now? Because I know there's a whole lot of tens of hectares of cocoa farms that my father left back in Ekiti. So is there a way to get back now if you want to get back on the legal side, and how do you go about it? Thank you.
Okay, I'll take the first question. I'm sure the Chief Magistrate can help me with the other question you've just answered. I think the first one, you're right. Lots of properties belonging to Nigerians out there abroad. And most of them, I wouldn't say, there are quite a number emanating from those who have worked hard to make their money. And there's a lot that has been embezzled out of the country that are out there. So, and those who took this money out are now late. Good question. How do we get this money back? How do we get these properties back? Since there's no will, it goes back to that basic question. First of all, identifying those assets. How do you identify those assets? So those assets are abroad. Who owns them? How do you prove that that person that died is the actual owner of that asset? Remember that in some cases, people buy assets not in their own names. They buy it in the names of companies or the names of people that are holding those assets for them. So when they die, it's very difficult to say, that person that died owned that asset, because the asset is not in his name. So it's a big problem. In some cases, you have the government championing this, especially for those known peps, those politicians. So because they know they're able to trace, and the Nigerian government goes out on behalf of the nation to try and reclaim those assets. But for Mr. Joe Block on the street, who has assets abroad, only the family members can trace those assets. Only those family members will have a claim once those assets are traced to be able to benefit from it. So it's a major problem, which takes us back to that critical, the critical topic for today, which is about putting your house in order. Writing a will, which will clearly identify the assets that you have, and you are able to leave it behind for those who you truly want to benefit out of it. The other question you asked was about, okay, Dad died years ago now, and you didn't participate in that sharing of his assets. So where do you go from there? Again, the first point is you have to get a letter of administration, because there's no will. He died intestate. So again, that same process of proving that those assets belong to him. Working with the professionals here to try and identify, has he got any pension? Has he got any shares? Has he got any other assets that can be traced to him? After getting all of that, we're going to the chief magistrate to say, okay, these are all the lists. How many children has he got? How do we divide these assets? Who are the true beneficiaries? Who can we appoint from the very many wives, I'm sure, that he may have? So I don't know whether you have any contribution towards that.
I will start from the first one, where you say there is money abroad. If it is possible for them to get information in respect of that money, if they have been able to obtain letters of administration here, they could go and do a resealing abroad to access the money. But most of the money are kept with code. So if these codes are not known to the family, how do they access the money? That's the problem. On the second aspect of your question, the one you asked that you did not participate, you have to first find out, was there letters of administration obtained in respect of that estate? Who are the administrators? Are they still alive? If they are not alive, and you're able to get a copy of the LA or information on the LA, you can approach the registry that you want to do a search. When you do a search and you find out that there is a file, you can now go approach a lawyer to apply for change of administrators, especially if they are dead, or even if they are not dead. If you can identify that you have an interest in that estate, your interest alone is enough for you to approach the court to get an order that you want to be an administrator in respect of that estate. And the court will grant you that order. Once you are granted that order, we do amendment of grants to let you have access to those estates. But if there is no letters of administration, then you have to start from the scratch. Identify the asset first. Identify the documents, because we are talking about land, cocoa farm and all that. You have to identify the documents. Because like in Lagos State, you always ask for the title document. What we discovered was that people were coming to come and obtain letters of administration on properties that were not theirs. So we make it a condition that you must provide us with a title document. It's not that we are taking the original, but at least a certified true copy to show that there is a nexus between you and that estate. If it is your father's name, then you apply for maybe additional assets, if it is not included in the former letters of administration. But if it is, then you can join as an administrator for you to be able to administer that estate. Thank you.
Okay. Good afternoon. Berkely Kilaso is my name. I need to commend the summit again that so far so good. It's been very insightful and extremely useful. I'm sure the youth will start participating in the will writing as well. The questions I have are not mine. They're from a friend who is a senior lawyer in London, so it could be a bit tasking for you guys. He's posted about 3 different questions, so he said he couldn't access your question and answer online. So I will endeavor to read the questions out for the panel, please. The first one is, does having access properties, bank account, shares, etc. in joint ownership with family members or friends is better than having a will. So again, having assets, properties, bank accounts in joint ownership, is it better than having a will? The second is a bit, I don't know, I'm a Muslim, but I'm not sure I'm capable of taking this. Is it true that in Islam, faith believers do not believe in writing a will? I'm not sure we have any Muslims in the panel. And the third one, life transfer gifts. Is it better than a will? Those are the three main questions. If you want me to repeat any, I will.
No, I think I get, well, I think we've all gotten the question. I think on the first one, which is about joint ownership of assets, is joint ownership of assets better than writing a will? No. A will and joint ownership are separate methods of dealing with your assets. Because, for example, if you have joint ownership, that joint ownership is not something that will outlast you. So the purpose of writing a will is to state what is to happen, for example, to that your joint ownership of that asset, what is to happen to that your share when you die. So the only way you can do that effectively is by writing a will. So the will clearly state what that half of yours or whatever your share in that joint ownership should happen when you leave. So joint ownership of assets, yes, is good in your lifetime, but what the will is talking about is after your lifetime. How is that ownership of your half of the joint asset, how is it to be dealt with? Islam, again, whether writing a will is it permitted under Islam? Is that the question? Well, I can't really answer that. But again, when you think about the purpose of a will, I'm sure Islam will not be opposed to it, because it's about you've been given a lot in your lifetime and you've worked hard for what you have been given by Allah. So in some ways, I would think that tidying that up, leaving it for your children or your loved ones or your friends in a way that cannot be disputed after your death, again, having a will, I think, would be important to do that. I think I've answered the questions from there. Sorry, what was the last one? What was the last one? Sorry.
If you make it quick.
Yeah, again, if it's about gifts, again, it's dealing with your lifetime. Because again, I will always go back to what the essence of the will is. The will is meant to, you can do a deed of gift to give some of your loved ones or some of your relatives or friends a particular gift before you die. But in terms of, there might be some tax connotations around whether that is better than a will. But the advocacy is about will writing, and I think will writing is something everybody should endeavor to do. It's a tidier way of dealing with the properties, your assets that you've had in your lifetime, giving it to your loved ones in a much orderly manner before you exit. So I hope that will answer his question.
So it's one final question.
Sorry, I want to say something on the first question about joint ownership. It all depends on the nature of what joint ownership is, because it could be husband and wife. And when one dies, the person that is surviving continues with the ownership. Until both of them die, that's when you can now apply to administer. But if it is maybe husband and wife, the husband died first, the wife continue. You don't need to do any letters of administration or anything in respect of that estate. But I will say that sometimes when you are doing joint ownership, especially with relation to property, if you want to transfer the property, sometimes it's always difficult. because we've had applications like that, where we have maybe like 3 owners of a property and they want to obtain letters of administration. All of them are dead. So there is this problem, which name do we use as administrator? Because the title documents are registered in the name of the 3 owners. Which name do we use for the application of letters of administration? We are still trying to sort out that problem. So that could be a problem. Then unfaith believers, what I discover now in our registry is that many people are becoming aware of drafting their wills, because we have a lot of wills being deposited in, with us, been lodged with us at the registry. We have it, in fact, sometimes we have like 30 in a week. So that means people are really getting aware. It's not like before. Then deed of gift. Deed of gift is a good thing, where you know the kind of family that you're going to leave behind. If it's somebody that has about 3, 4 wives, I know that they are going to be fighting over your estate. For God's sake, deed of gift is the best. So you would have shared all your gift before you go. So they won't be fighting behind you when you have gone.
Thank you very much, everyone. Can we have the final question from the audience, please?
Yes, thank you again. So my question is this. And this is a real life situation, and I wanted to have clarity on it. So a particular family estate, the last surviving owner of the estate passed on, and then he gave the document to a family member. And the person passed on over 10 years ago. Nobody knew who he handed over that property to. And the person also didn't disclose. So they didn't know anything until a few weeks ago when the person decided to disclose and hand over the property. But my question is, they wanted to do something. They wanted to dispose the property, but they were unable to do so. So I wanted to know that, or my question is this: is there any other way to trace or lay hands on the document, you know, or to, I don't know, to trace the document in such a way that, you know, they are entitled to the property, but then they couldn't lay hands on it because there was no document in sight. So is there any way to search or verify or, you know, retrieve such documents when they don't have the original, in such a case where somebody can choose to hold on to the document?
Except if the property is registered. If it is registered, then you can go to the land registry and find out, apply for CTC. But if you can't get the numbers of the registration, it can be a difficult thing. It can be a difficult thing. But if it is like prototype properties, like you have estates, those that are owned by the government and all that, you can always write to them that you want a copy of the CTC of the title document. If they can't give you the title, the certified true copy, there are some document they give them to show that at least there's a nexus between you and that estate. And once you present that, the registry will look at it and then you go ahead with your application. Yes.
Yeah, getting the title document is very critical. You won't be able to move forward in any meaningful way without having the title document.
Thank you very much, everyone. We have a couple of comments and questions on the internet, but let me quickly take this one. It's for Mr. Passion Partners. He says, can we reinvest the shares and dividends that we do not want to sell?
Thank you. Okay, thank you for that. So you can reinvest dividend. For shares, you can't reinvest shares. You can either sell them and rebalance your portfolio. Like I mentioned earlier, if you, for instance, if the shares that are available are in the banking sector, you can decide that, oh, I don't want to, you know, have shares in the banking sector. I want to have them in the telco sector or in another sector. But for dividends, yes, you can reinvest your dividend.
All right. Sorry, one more question for you again. From one, because name is not here. Said, does it matter where I obtain the letter of registration, where there are shares, stocks, it is involved?
Oh, yes, it does. I mean, you have to get it from the probate from the High Court. That is, I think that's based on history, based on how we handle such cases. We always tend to recommend that you get, a letter from the probate or from the High Court. Yes. Pardon? Yes. Without, okay.
There is the letters of administration. So you must produce your letters of administration for there to be a transmission of the shares to the beneficiaries.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, the panelists. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. That was a beautiful session, wonderfully and competently moderated by Mr. Femi Idowu. Thank you so much. I'll just quickly speak to that issue or the question about maybe Islam permitting, the issue of will. So one of my very good big brothers said he used to work with an Alhaji who was very nice to all his wives. All of a sudden, all of them will say to him, Alhaji, ti kobo for me. Alhaji, ti kobo for me. Alhaji, ti kobo for me. Which means you didn't do anything for me. So one day Alhaji said, okay, all of you come together. I want to have a meeting with you. You know what Alhaji did? Alhaji had gone to look for 1 kobo. A couple of, those 1 kobo. How many of you saw 1 kobo coins? The coins. So he got 1 kobo coins. He said, you said, mi o shen kobo fun oda 1 kobo real. Mi o shen kobo fun 1 kobo real. So, le so pe mi o shen kobo fun yin. Meaning that you can't now say that I've not done anything for you. The kobo you are asking for, this is it. So Alhaji gave all of them 1 kobo each to prove that he had done something of 1 kobo for them. And I was also speaking to that because of what she said about a deed of gift being the best way, where you have multiple partners and, several branches. Who used the word branches? I think she said so, to Your Honor. Said, your own branch. When you're drawing up your family tree, it'll be quite interesting. Branch 1, branch 2, branch. I was just kidding. All right, thank you very much. We had a wonderful. How many of you agree? It's been so good so far, right? You do agree? Please, a round of applause for the organizers. And on that note, I'd like to invite someone from Berkeley Legal, Tumininu Oladipo. Oh, okay, just hold on.
What the Islamic injunction says about the Quran is specific on sharing of inheritance. However, every Muslim is enjoined to write a will that will specify his asset and liability and specify those he or she is owing and those that owe him or her at the time of death. Everything will be aggregated and shared in accordance with the instruction from the Quran. Is that clear?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Sir? Okay, so you can write a will but indicates the debt as well. All right, thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, please let's make welcome Tumininu Oladipo from Berkeley Legal.
Thank you all so much, panelists. You're an honor once again, and everybody here. We can all agree that this has been a thought-provoking and very interesting session. First, I would even like to apologize. I know we had some people who still wanted to ask questions. And so again, I would say that we have information booths at the back. And then also for any questions you have, you can send it to us by email. Our email address is info@berkeleyhelp.com. I mean, you can see the spelling of Berkeley already. Then you put LP beside it and then .com. So info@berkeleyhelp.com. Send your questions today. I can assure you that within 24 hours, you will get responses to your questions. But if you want immediate responses as well, at the end of this session, you can approach any of the panelists that you have the question or who the question is directed to, and then you can see them. Again, I would like to highlight just a few things that we have learned today, and I have learned as well. So, I'll start with, okay, so firstly, there is no better time to write a will than right now, and so, we think, oh, I have to wait later. And there was somebody who had mentioned something who said, you won't get a phone call on when it's going to happen. So the best thing is you write it now. And you know, when we were talking about multiplying your revenue streams and, you know, being diverse in all of these things, you try to amass all these assets. And, you know, Shewa talked about a lot of the assets, the different things, and why it's important, you know, to have this asset. We've talked about pensions and things like that. And then Shewa said something again. He said, we worked hard to make the money, you know, and so we should pay attention to the money. And so, you know, in doing this, you don't want to amass all of this wealth, and then you leave without tidying your house, and your children or your loved ones are left to trying to then source or think or even gather the assets that you have worked so hard, you know, to amass. And so in saying this, you know, we would say that, you know what, write a will, because it's the best way that you can direct your affairs and the legacies that you're going to leave behind. And now secondly, and well, I'll say finally as well, that, you know, in trying to access the assets of the deceased, you know, it's also very important. I recall that Ahonotu had said something about this, you know, and Mrs. Kilaso mentioned it as well, tracing assets. Now, for instance, you know, we've had a lot of instances, and given the fact that this is something we do at Berkeley Legal, we've had a lot of instructions on asset tracing. And why are we doing asset tracing? Because Daddy bought maybe 3 properties in Banana. He bought one in Ikoyi somewhere. He bought one on the mainland, and we're not sure how many of it they had. So, for instance, we did one recently where the children actually knew where the property was. They had no documentation. They weren't sure. They just knew that the property was somewhere around Ajah, but they didn't know where it was. So when we were trying to apply for letters of administration, the first thing we had to do was, okay, how do we get more information? We knew, you know, we had to go to the land bureau and then make some, you know, we had to use most of our expertise, you know, to then get them the proper documentation they need for them to then also include that asset in the letters of administration. So again, you know, because we would advise again, you need experts for some of these things. We are available at Berkeley Legal to support you in some of these things, you know. And just like she's mentioned as well, we have over 2 trillion funds in unclaimed assets. We don't want ours to be part of it. I don't want anybody here. I mean, it will be a shame that you've attended this and then this also is something that is happening later, or this is a legacy that we're leaving behind. You know, so we can do this. It's important as well that if you have any of these, challenges, you can reach out to us, and it's something that we can do. Again, like I said, we have information booths. You have Leadway Pension there. You have Pension Central. You have Passion Partners, and you have Berkeley Legal there. Please feel free to reach out to people to get more information. And at the end of this session, which is going to end very soon. Thank you once again. I'll repeat again, our email is info@berkeleyhelp.com. Thank you all so much.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll now just quickly go on to the vote of thanks for today. But just before I invite the gentleman to take the vote of thanks, I want to crave your indulgence, panelists. Immediately after the vote of thanks, the gentleman will lead you to the booth at the back of the hall. So once he's done with the vote of thanks, he will lead you to see what we have at the back. Please, let's make welcome Adebayo Adekola of Berkeley Legal for a vote of thanks.
Your Honor, Chief Magistrate Akone, the Deputy President, Lagos Chambers of Industry, and all the distinguished panelists, thank you for sharing with us your valuable experiences and insights at today's session. We cannot thank you enough for allowing us to share in this wealth of knowledge and experiences. I personally have no doubt that this resourcefulness has enriched every one of us here today and enhanced our knowledge. Also, I cannot appreciate the participants who have to leave their busy schedule to be present here today. And to those who joined online, thank you all. I am certain that we have all learned today from this summit. This vote of thanks will not be complete this morning if I do not appreciate our sponsors. Passion Partners, Berkeley Legal, Leadway Pension, Tideway Capital, LCCI. We all appreciate you all. We are very, very grateful for your support. Finally, I would like to thank the Berkeley Legal team who have contributed in organizing this summit. Thank you so much, and God bless you. And to all other persons who have participated in ensuring we have a successful event today, I say a big thank you to all. Once again, thank you all, and God bless you.
All right, just before we lead the panelists, I just wanted to say to you, feel free to talk to us. When I say us, please don't come and tell me I'm not part of Berkeley Legal. Just, So when you come to us, don't come and be pricing, can I do buy one, get one free? No, we don't do buy one, get one free for a wheel. It's just one wheel. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, please, Mr. Adebayo Adekola will show you to the booth and kindly join him. Once again, thank you, everyone. We will appreciate you. And just like Mrs. Kilaso said earlier, do well to interact with the panelists. Do well to interact with every other person who is here today. You are also here for the purpose of networking. And I believe that you can make the most by talking to every other person here. Before you step off the stage, it will be nice to take a group photograph. All the panelists. Can we close up the gap a bit? Yes, thank you. And while the pictures are going on, and to our participants, you've been well behaved. So for good behavior, you get a pack from Berkeley Legal, and then some people are looking at me and they're laughing. Thank you so much. That's just my way of saying thank you. DJ, please, some light music. Can we have members of the Berkeley team, please, on the stage? The Berkeley team, please. Oh, okay. Please, we'll take that after the panelists are done at the booth.
Sweet mix, my drum phase.
At the end of the day,
We get